Hello, sewing enthusiasts! Say you're making a wedding or evening dress for a client or a friend. You already have the picture of the future dress and the sewing pattern. But unfortunately, the pattern size doesn't match your client. Your task is to adjust this pattern for a perfect fit. But how to do that? I'll show you how to do it fast and easy on a specific example. Print the standard default pattern. Take all the measurements of your client. Open up the Pattern Alterations calculation software and fill all the measurements. Now, it's up to you to alter the pattern according to the calculations, so the future dress will be exactly the right size for your client. This is done manually. As the result, you'll get the right pattern for sewing the perfect dress for your client or for yourself. So without further ado, let's begin altering this pattern. But before we start, make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me the thumbs up. Take the following measurements: bust front, under bust front, bust circumference, under bust circumference, waist circumference, stomach circumference, hips circumference, bust middle, clip 1 toward the arm, clip 2 up, clip 3 toward the center, side height, back height at the shoulder blades. I recommend to take an additional measurement, the height of the side seam from the waist to the bust line. Write it down separately. We'll need it for further considerations. Enter the measurement values to the Client's Measurements column. Let's look at the bust middle column. All the values associated with the alterations on the lines of the bust, under bust, waist, stomach, and hips, including bust middle, are equal to -1. This means that the pattern should be reduced by 1 centimeter on the front center line. Let's look at the column front side seam. All the values are equal to 1 centimeter. Therefore, the pattern should be increased by 1 centimeter on the front side. Note that I make the alteration by parallel movements of the lines, keeping its length and not considering the side height measurement. I'll talk a little bit later about side height and about side seam alteration. In the end of this video, I'll also return to the under bust dart, which appears with the large size of the bust. In the meantime, we continue to alter the pattern for our example. Let's look at the column back side seam. All the values are equal to -1.9 centimeters. This means that the pattern should be reduced by 1.9 centimeters on the back side. Note that I make the alteration by parallel movements of the lines, keeping its length and not minding the side height measurement. Now the column back middle alteration. All the values on the lines of the bust, under bust, waist, stomach, and hips are equal to -1.9. This means the pattern should be reduced by 1.9 centimeters on the back middle line. Now let's move to the back relief corrections. Let's check the values in the column back relief. The value that should be moved along the bust line is 2.1 centimeters. Put the dots on the bust line 2.1 centimeters from the back relief on both back parts. The value that should be put on the under bust line is 0.1 centimeter. Let's put the dots on the under bust line 0.1 centimeter from the back relief on both back parts. The value on the waistline is negative 0.7 centimeters. Let's put the dots on the waistline negative 0.7 centimeters from the back relief on the both parts. The value on the stomach line is negative 0.6 centimeters. We're putting the dots along the stomach line, negative 0.6 centimeters from the back relief on both back parts. The value from the hips line is 0.2 centimeters. Let's put the dots on the hip line, 0.2 centimeters from the back relief on both back parts. Now we connect the dots with a curvy line, marking the new reliefs. We draw the perpendiculars from the top dots to the top of the part. Now pay attention on the value in the line back height at the shoulder blades. In this example, it is 0 because the pattern and the client's measurements are the same. If the number will be different from 0, you should make an alteration in the relief height, like this. Now we move forward to the front relief alteration. All the actions are the same. Let's look at the values in the column front relief below the waistline. The value on the waistline is negative 0.7 centimeters. We put the dots negative 0.7 centimeters from the front relief on both parts. The value on the stomach line is negative 0.6 centimeters. We put the dots on the stomach line negative 0.7 centimeters from the front relief on both parts. The value on the hip line is 0.2 centimeters. We put the dots on the hip line 0.2 centimeters from the front relief on both parts. Now we connect the dots, marking the new reliefs. Now let's draw the lines from the dots on the waist, connecting them with the pattern on the under bust line. Now I move to the alteration of the top cut of the front pattern. This part might cause some difficulties, and the alteration is not always the same. Let me show you what the options are and which effects they create. Look at the clip measurement. In my example, all of them are negative 1.5 centimeters. Let's move the lines according to the calculations from the table. Armpit line, top line, neckline. Now let's look at the line side height. The calculations in the table tell us to reduce the side height by 2 centimeters. But when we move to the armpit line, reducing the pattern on the clip toward the arm measurement, the front side seam lowers automatically by approximately 1.2 centimeters. Now remains to lower the side seam of the front by 0.8 centimeters to achieve the desired 2 centimeters. Usually we should cut all the patterns on the waistline and to move it up by 0.8 centimeters. In rare cases, it's possible to lower the armpit line by 0.8 centimeters, but be really careful. Make sure that on the pattern along the side, the distance between the bust and waist lines is the same distance as on the client. Otherwise, the cup will not take its place on the bust. It will be located too high and the entire dress will crawl upward relative to the waist. In any case, it's always a good idea to measure the height from the waist to the bust line on the side seam, along with the classic side height measurement. This measurement will help you to understand the body proportions and to choose the right option of the alteration. There is a third option of the pattern alteration, according to the measurement side height. It is moving all the parts up from the waist by 2 centimeters. Then, to adjust armpit line according to the clip toward the arm measurement. The option depends on the distance between the bust line and the waistline, the shape of the top cut, and the measurement clip toward the arm. I'll do the most popular option, top front cut adjustment. We erase the unwanted lines and close the outline. Now let's shape the top back cut. Remember that by moving the patterns along the waist, we reduced the height of the side seam by 0.8 centimeters only. In order to get the reduction of 2 centimeters, according to the table, we need to lower the side seam line by 1.2 centimeters. Choose the shape of the top back cut according to the chosen dress style. For this example, I'm going to lower all the back cut by 1.2 centimeters. I'm erasing the unwanted lines and close the outline. The pattern alteration review would not be complete if we won't touch upon the case of a large bust size. Without going into details, I'll only tell you about the principle of the appearance of an under-bust dart and how it affects the height of the side seam. After filling up the table, take a look at the dart depth field. When the bust size is small, usually the value is 0. But when the bust circumference measurement gets larger, the measurement clip toward the arm enlarges accordingly, and the value of the dart depth line changes from 0. The dart is drawn from the side. Its top lays on the under bust line. The base point is located on the side seam, on the distance of half of its depth from the under bust line. In other words, the under bust line divides the dart exactly in half. The deeper the dart, the longer it is. Let's alter the armpit sector according to the clip toward the arm measurement. By pushing the armpit line by 1.5 centimeters to the side, the line moves up by approximately 1 centimeter. And this corresponds to the calculated value of the dart. When you'll alter the pattern according to your size, you'll see it for yourself. Draw the side seam line upper, closing the outline. Well, then all the arguments about the side seam in accordance with the measurement side height are completely similar to what I already spoke about. If the table instructs to alter the height of the seam, then cut the pattern along the waistline and shift parts of the patterns. If the difference in the default pattern and the measurements of the client is no more than 1.5 centimeters, the pattern may not be cut, but simply lower the armpit area by the value indicated in the table. That's it! In just 10 minutes, you've created a pattern for a perfect fit. Download the free wedding dress sewing pattern by clicking on the link in the description below. The video course on sewing this dress and the pattern calculation software are available for Corset Academy members. Corset Academy membership offers over 1,000 video tutorials on design wedding and evening dresses, dozens of sewing patterns, automatic pattern alteration software, and much more. Follow the link in the description and join the membership for a free 10-day trial right now. See you in the next tutorials.